Good morning, everyone. So, for today, like what I've mentioned, what we're going to be doing or taking a deep dive on would be the concept of receivables. So, we're done with mastering inventories in terms of like the different subtopics, accounting for it, and the other different concepts and foundations that we have. So, similarly, lilipat na tayo to another account. So, for today, what we're going to be talking about would be receivables. So, it really follows the same format in terms of how we digest the concepts for accounting. So of course, we're going to be starting with the formal definition. So there are two things or two types of receivables that you should be looking out for. You have your AR and your NR, and of course your other receivables. Today, we're going to be mastering how to create our journal entries for our receivables and also some of the subtopics under it. So particularly bad debt estimation. And then finally, since tapos na natin yung journal entries for both inventory and AR, this is where we're gonna go to the more practical foundation. So hindi na ganun ka-hardcore accounting, but more on finance. Understanding na or parang coming up with ratios to really understand your financial statements on a deeper level. So with that said, let's go to the formal definitions of receivables. So like what I mentioned, similar with inventory, we always go back to our frameworks kasi it's just really to make sure that everything is standardized, right? So net in terms of like the very easy identifiable definition of receivables, the idea lang is there is an amount due from an individual in the company. So technically, you can think of it as claims wherein what you expect is that at the end of the day, that receivable, you'll be able to collect cash. So in terms of how you look at it, it basically starts from the source of revenue. So you have your revenue. And then ideally, it will just jump straight to cash. But due to any timing concerns, may mga cash flow considerations, some people would have a payable. But in turn, if you're the one or the seller, what you will get instead would be an asset called receivable. But in its inherent definition, the reason why it's called receivable is because it's a claim or an expectation that you will receive cash at the end of the day. And that's why that's the inherent benefit of receivables, making it ultimately our assets. So with that, there are three different types of receivables. So there are three different types na I've identified, pero there are two major classifications. So you have what you call your trade receivables. So even though AR and notes receivables are different from each other, they are both considered trade receivables. And there you have your non-trade receivables, the one on the right, right? So, punta muna tayo dun sa trade receivables, right? So, trade receivables are those that arise from your normal business operating cycle. So, typically, anything that will generate from your sales transactions. Kaya siya in the course of trade, kaya trade receivables. So, therefore, you'll have two types of trade receivables. You have your accounts receivable and you have your notes receivable. So, what is the difference? The difference usually is in terms of three things: the source, the way we collect, and also the feature that it has. So AR, very straightforward. It usually arises in the normal sale of goods and services. And therefore, yung collection niya, maiksi lang, usually around 30 to 60 days from the time of purchase. It has no unique features, very straightforward. Bumili ka ng goods or services from me. In turn, I expect that within 30 to 60 days, I'll be able to collect cash from you. On the other hand, notes receivable naman is a more formal document. So there's a formal instrument of credit. So nag-extend ka ng line of credit. And therefore, what it has is that meron siyang trade-offs and benefits. So the benefit for the payer is that basically may longer time ka to pay for it. So 60 to 90 days. But as you'll know soon enough when we discuss cash flows, the faster you receive cash, yun yung mas may benefit sa'yo. And therefore, if you're extending a notes receivable, may trade-off yun na pinahiram mo yung money mo and you'll expect it at a later date. And therefore, in order to compensate for the time value of money, merong imputed na interest. So every time na may notes receivable ka, may expectation ka that there will be an interest that you'll be able to receive. And then finally, you'll have other receivables. So these are from non-trade. So examples would be interest receivable, loans of company to officers, advances to employees. So the ones italicized, these are some of the terms that might throw you off, particularly loans to company officers, advances to employees, but generally, these are just receivables from the different interested parties. So now that we know the different types of receivables, isa-isahin lang natin. So let's take a deep dive first in the first type, which would be our accounts receivable. So similar to our inventory, this is what the journal entries look like for accounts receivable. Similar to inventories, it's just basically into three phases. You'll have your initial recognition. So under initial recognition, we'll talk about sale on account, what if nag-return sila ng inventory, paano kung nag-collect ka ng AR, and some finance charges that are associated with the initial recognition. The second, which would be the meat of our topic today, would be the subsequent measurement. So basically, that would be talking about the difference between the direct write-off and the allowance method. And then at the end of the day, how do we dispose of receivables if we cannot collect them? So those are the three major things that you have to understand or conceptualize under accounts receivable. So let's go first with initial recognition. So key things to know about AR. Accounts receivable should be measured at what? At the fair value at point of sale. So it should be measured at fair value at point of sale. So very straightforward, meron na tayong experience with encountering AR unlike inventory. There are two things lang that you need to know. The first journal entry is that every time you have a sale, you will have an accounts receivable if hindi sila nagbayad ng cash. So the first journal entry would be debit AR, credit sales revenue. You recognize your revenue, tataas rin yung AR mo. However, and I think this is something that's may benefit tayo since we're coming in from inventory. As you know, sometimes kapag may sale, they will have a return, right? Sales return. So review, instead of debiting sales revenue para bumaba yung revenue associated to it, we're introducing a new contra sales account called sales return and allowance, which is basically just a deduction of the revenue from when we sell it, right? So kung nagbenta ako ng item, kuwari nagbenta ako ng drone for 10,000 pesos, let's say, and then parang nakita nung person na parang merong medyo may scratches na, and then that was your last stock in unit, what you'll do is you will extend probably like allowance of 1,000. So technically, ito dapat yung sales revenue mo. This is your sales revenue. If tama yung pag-source mo or tama yung pagbenta mo ng goods, this should have been your revenue. However, given na may defect siya, meron kang sales return and allowance. So in effect, this is your gross sales. Ililess mo ng sales return and allowance, which will then give you your net sales of 9,000. So similarly, how much yung money na ine-expect mo to collect from this sale? 10,000 or 9,000? 9,000. And therefore, sa AR mo, when you do the T account, may 10,000 ka dito because ina-assume mo na tama yung sale. But when you have a return and allowance, it's gonna be a credit. And therefore, net-net, you will get an accounts receivable of 9,000. So basically, that's the idea behind these two journal entries. So let's take a look at the example, right? So basically, RRC Pudge Corp sold to Podico tote bag merchandise for 120,000, terms 5, 10, and 30. Pudi returned 20,000 worth of AR. So our journal entry would be, first, we recognize the sale, right? So that would be debit AR, so 120,000, and debit credit sales revenue, 120,000. Right? Very straightforward. So at this point, we're expecting, okay, makakakolek ako ng 120,000. But then, some of the totes were damaged. So, nag-return sila worth 20,000. So now, babawasan natin yung sales revenue by debiting SRA, and then, i-credit rin natin yung AR. So, bababa yung amount of AR that we expect to receive. So, it's therefore, debit SRA, credit AR of 20,000. Now, we're at this point, right? So, we're at the point na, okay, pwede na tayong mag-collect. Now, the thing that I want you to understand is that there are three scenarios when you collect accounts receivable from a customer, right? There are three. So the first would be they pay within the term. Like 5, 10, and 30, as the name suggests, I will give you a 5% discount if you pay within 10 days. But regardless, you have to pay within 30 days from the time na I sold to you. So ano yung three scenarios? The three scenarios are either A, nagbayad ka ng maaga within the 10 days. So that's scenario 1, you paid early. And therefore, you have to recognize a sales discount from that. You paid within 30 days, pero after the 10 days. So, sakto lang within the term. So, therefore, that would be journal entry number 4. That would be just straightforward collection. And then, you will have a late charge or a may finance charge ka for not paying within the term. So, basically, ito-charge ka ng interest after you pay as a penalty after 30 days. So, those are the three scenarios. So now, let's have three sub-scenarios talking about what are the different scenarios with collecting AR. So first is with discount. So we paid December 4. We fully paid the outstanding AR to our RCPAJ corporation. Question, what is the outstanding AR as of today? Right? It's 120 less 20. So, 100,000 yung outstanding accounts receivable natin. Right? So, now, let's go with the idea. So, for me, my suggestion for those na nahihirapan in terms of compound journal entries is you have to do it methodically. Right? The thing that you have to remember is that when you're accounting for receivables, the major idea is you're paying it off or parang it's being paid off. So ang unang journal entry or account that you should do is you should, step 1, credit your accounts receivable. Basta ang idea is, uubusin mo yung AR that's left. So, we're expecting to receive 100,000, right? The next thing na I want you to do is to debit the discount if it's within the sale. So, sales discount. Now, you'll panic. Parang, where do I apply the 5%? Is it to the 120,000 or the 100? Rather than worry about that, all you have to do is look at what you credited kasi this is what you'll expect to receive ultimately. And then you multiply the 5%. So, 100,000 times 5% will be 5,000. And therefore, i-debit nyo yung 5,000 as a sales discount. And therefore, it will give you what you have to receive na cash, which is just basically in terms of our fundamental law, your debit should always be equal to your credits. If your credit is 100,000 and may debit ka na 5, the missing here is just 95,000 to make it even. So, ganun. That's how you should create your compound journal entry for your returns and your sales discount. Another thing that you have to understand is dapat magaling kayong magbilang within N5 or N10 or N30, which we'll discuss naman in other scenarios. So now we go to December 6, right? So December 6, basically that's within the period, so pero after 10 days. So therefore, ito, madali lang. It's straightforward. Credit your AR, pero wala kang discount, so what you'll receive is 100,000 in cash. And then the last would be yung finance charge, but then that's very rare that it will happen. So for that, it's just good to know na if it's late, there's a finance charge. But no need naman to worry about the journal entries associated with it. So I think so far, it's been pretty straightforward. The next thing or the next scenario that we have to do naman would be in terms of subsequent measurement, right? So, okay, meron na tayong mga outstanding AR. How do we then subsequently measure them at the end of a particular period? So we go back to our financial statements. So similar with inventory, our accounts receivable are under current assets. Pero magugulat kayo because ang nakalagay doon is that it's AR net. Palaging may net in your financial statement. So bakit siya net? It's because if ang initial measurement ng AR is at fair value at point of sale, alternatively, yung subsequent measurement niya is at net realizable value or at NRV, right? So, nire-record natin yung AR not in its fair value at point of sale, but at its cash NRV, which just basically means the value for which AR is expected to be collected in cash. So, meaning, at the end of the day, walang kwenta how much you expect to claim. What's more important is, at right now, in terms of the net realizable value, ano ba yung value ng AR mo that you'll eventually be able to convert to cash, right? And basically, ang nangyayari is that you'll say na, what's the difference between the fair value and NRV? Sometimes, the present value of your estimated cash flows, ang mangyayari is that yung carrying amount mo is less than the present value of what you expect to collect. And therefore, magkakaroon ka ng impairment loss that will lower the value of your AR. So basically, it's a complicated concept, but all you need to know is that at the end of each reporting period, we are required to assess whether may objective evidence ba na na-impair yung receivables. And when I say impair, meaning that yung carrying amount niya is less than the present value of the estimated cash flows, right? So, it looks hard right now, but you'll understand in a while on how it would look like, right? So, net-net, the difficulty of reporting AR is that at the end of the day, we're humans, and that some companies and some individuals won't pay their receivables. Like in an ideal world, parang these are your receivables. Receivable 1, receivable 2, receivable 3. All of these, you expect to collect ng cash. Unfortunately, what happens is that may customer A ka, may customer B, may customer C. Sometimes, may mga customers talaga na hindi nagbabayad. And therefore, ang mangyayari is that one of them or some of them will be what we call bad debt. So, masamang debt, meaning dapat hindi mo na lang pala siya pinautang, right? And therefore, rather than treating this as an asset, kasi 'di ba ang asset, the basis or source of AR being an asset is that eventually magiging cash naman siya. Rather than treating this bad debt as an asset, what we'll do is we'll classify it as an expense. Right? So this is a new term called bad debt expense, wherein it's reported as an expense in your income statement. So there are two ways to recognize bad debt, right? So there is what we call the direct write-off method, wherein the idea is, okay, paano ba natin ma-estimate yung bad debt? Well, basically, ang gagawin lang natin is, titignan natin yung mga AR, the number of different accounts receivable that we have, and then we check sino ba talaga yung deemed actually uncollectible. So this one, ang titingnan natin is what we call our actual losses. So ang gagawin mo lang is titingnan mo, sino ba yung actual loss from the direct write-off method. However, sasabihin ko na now, we will not follow the direct write-off method because it does not follow the matching principle. The idea kasi is that we have to match our bad debts to our sales revenue. If we wait for it to be actually deemed uncollectible, we're not following the matching principle. So therefore, net-net, we're not gonna follow the direct write-off method. Pero I'll just show you what it looks like, right? What we will follow instead is an allowance method. So as the name suggests, meron kang allowance for bad debt. Wherein, ang gagawin mo is that at the end of the period, you will estimate how much yung uncollectible. So ano yung difference? Ang difference is, for direct write-off, hihintayin mo muna for it to be actually uncollectible. Versus allowance, gagawa ka na ng allowance. I-estimate mo instead. So this refers to your estimated losses. And this is how you can actually show that it's at cash NRV. So ano yung difference? Again, direct write-off, you look at actual losses. So, i-record mo lang only when it's deemed uncollectible. Versus the more conservative approach wherein you create estimated losses, wherein you create allowance for doubtful accounts at the end of each period. So, we're gonna be following allowance method. However, just so that you can understand the difference better, let's just look at the entries, right? So there are the two journal entries for your direct write-off, right? The first is, pag nagkaroon ka ng direct write-off, meaning, mag-recognize ka ng bad debt expense, so that's gonna be debit, so that's an expense, and then babawasan mo yung AR mo, so that's a credit AR. And then what happens is, oh, sometimes, kala mo hindi mo na pala mako-collect, pero biglang surprisingly, na-collect mo pala. So what you'll do is you'll recognize cash, debit, and then you credit bad debt expense. So as an example, let's look at this particular entry. So after exhausting all means, RR Sipaj determined the following accounts will no longer be collectible. Customer P, 1,440, U, 1,300, and 500. So what they're asking is we journalize the write-off. So basically, ang gagawin lang natin is we add 1,440, 13, and 500. And then what we will recognize is debit bad debt expense, meaning na ang ginagawa natin is we're recognizing expenses at the amount, so 3,240. And then, ibababa na natin yung AR. Hindi na siya asset. Ginawa na natin siyang expense at 3,240. So basically, ganun lang yung itsura niya. However, nagulat ka na out of the three, si P, U, at saka si D, at December 17, himala, si customer U actually paid it back. So now, may problem ka. You already derecognized the AR and then nag-recognize ka na ng expense. So how do you reverse an actually paid write-off? Well, the idea is, kailangan bawasan natin yung expense na to. So therefore, we will credit BDE of not 3,240 but 1,300. Ano yung i-debit natin? AR ba or other account? Na lang, right? Kaysa i-AR mo pa and then magka-cash AR ka pa, right? So cash na lang, right? Of 1,300. Right? So that's basically what we will be doing. So debit, cash, credit, BDE of 1,300. So, in contrast, the allowance method, ang ginagawa is, instead of crediting AR, so ano napansin nyo? Sa direct write-off, it directly affects your AR kaagad. Right? It directly affects your AR kaagad. And then, magugulat ka na lang, biglang may makukolect ka. So, parang ang hirap i-account for it. Rather than actually affecting your AR, the solution that the accountants came up with under the allowance method is, gawa na lang tayo ng bagong account. Every time we recognize a bad debt expense or a BDE, let's get an account called allowance for doubtful accounts. So these are a contra AR account that will say na, out of my receivables, ito yung mukhang doubtful. Ito yung mukhang hindi magbabayad. Para every time na nagbabayad-bayad sila or may nag-affect sa estimation mo, hindi mo ginagalaw si AR. Ang ginagalaw mo, si allowance for doubtful accounts. So in the previous scenario, rather than crediting AR, what we will credit is what we call our allowance for doubtful accounts. And then, parang kapag sure ka na, as in parang 1 year na yung nakalipas, dun mo lang i-write off. So when you hear the word write off, that's the only time na you will derecognize an AR. So ang gagawin mo is, ito, since kinredit mo siya, i-debit mo siya so that it will lessen the allowance for doubtful accounts. But as an effect, you will actually write off a portion of the AR. So ang ginagawa niya is rather than the one-step process na nag-write off ka from your direct write-off method here, binibigyan mo pa siya ng chance
sa allowance method. Step 1 is, ilagay muna natin siya sa allowance account. Pag talagang sobrang hindi na talaga makollect, then i-recognize mo yung ADA, pero dun nabababa si AR. And that's the difference between ADA and AR. Right? So, if you have questions, let me know. Yes. ADA is a contra, ayan, so good question. So ADA is a contra asset of AR. So since contra asset siya, it will lessen your AR. So the normal is credit. So basically, as you can see from the slides, kaya siya net AR is because this is really what it looks like in the financial statements. You'll have your AR, and then similar to parang depreciation, meron kang less ADA of 137, that will give your net AR. So that basically solves your question on the subsequent measurement. Na the principle is, we should record AR at net. And that's basically our AR account minus ADA, right? So AR is the total amount of claims that we expect to get, and ADA is a portion that are doubtful. And that will be your AR net, which is basically, ultimately, yung na-expect mo to receive in cash. So, generally, initial measurement ko is, let's say, 5,000. Pero, through my estimation methods, feeling ko out of the 5,000, parang I'll get 2,000 worth of bad debt expense. So, accounting states that subsequently, I should report it at 3,000. Which is the net AR, which is ultimately what I expect to receive. That's what you call your cash NRV, right? So, generally, ito lang yung format na I want you to expect or to understand. AR less ADA is equal to your net AR. So, yung mga tanong sa receivables is, what is net AR? What is ADA? What is BDE? Yun lang naman yung itatanong for mga receivable questions, right? So now, the thing is, paano kung naka-recover, right? What does that mean, right? We will progress the scenario. So, scenario 1, nag-result ka ng bad debt expense, ADA. And then, at a certain point, nag-give up ka na sa kanya. So, nag-direct write-off ka. So therefore, ang ginagawa mo is ADA, AR. Paano kung, even though after the second chance, bigla siyang nagbayad? Right? That's what you call a recovery. Pag nagbayad siya under a recovery, all you have to do is to reverse this entry. So dahil nag-debit ka ng ADA and nag-credit ka ng AR, you just have to reverse whatever you wrote. And then from there, you'll make another entry to collect. So, naging AR siya, cash, AR. So, I want you to treat this as just one journal entry, right? So, nag-write off ka, nag-recover, naka-collect, right? So, these are the two journal entries that will happen under recovery. So, let's apply. Same scenario, hindi ka ma-collect. So, ano yung difference? The only difference is, rather than, wait lang. So, naging deemed uncollectible. So, bakit ito yung journal entry? It's because it says it's actually deemed uncollectible. So, it's a write-off, right? So, debit ADA, credit AR of 3,240. And then, yung recovery will look like, i-reverse mo yung doubtful accounts of 1,3. So, debit AR, debit ADA of, debit AR, credit ADA of 1,3. And then, collect cash. So, again, wag malito, meron hidden na bad debt expense from the previous scenario. Pero since ito, technically it says naka-write-off na siya, and the term or phrase that you will associate for write-off is actually deemed no longer collectible. Kaya siya yung journal entry number 2. So, wag kayong malito dito sa scenario na to. We just started here. Meron pang entry that we'll have to do sa BDE from the previous estimation, right? This is just to illustrate na for us to recover under the allowance method, it's debit AR, credit ADA to reinstate it, and then debit cash, credit AR. Yeah.
Sir, I thought doubtful accounts is credit.
Yes, yes. So, diba there are 4 stages, right? There is an estimate, and then there's a period na you actually deem it as uncollectible or write-off. So, meron siyang, in the scenario, meron kang previously estimated, so may ADA balance na siya. So, therefore, yung itong 6.2b, when it says it no longer deems collectible, this is already a direct write-off. So, ito yung journal entry that we did. So, technically, kaya lang siya confusing. Wala lang yung estimation na journal entry. But it's here. So, we'll provide more scenarios so that you'll be able to see kung how BDE and ADA works. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So, the question is, okay, we understand na the journal entries, right? There is an estimation that we're doing so that we can create the allowance for doubtful accounts. The next question is, so just to help you structure or digest, there's direct write-off and allowance method. I just want you to know that direct write-off is not viable. Yung I want you to focus on is creating journal entries for the allowance method. So allowance method lang yung focus natin. Number 2, the question is, how do we estimate bad debts, right? And therefore, merong dalawa methods na I need you to understand and master. Merong percentage of sales and percentage of receivables. So, what is the difference? Yung percentage of sales, ang emphasis niya is on the income statement relationship. So, ang base mo is total credit sales or net credit sales. Your rationale is that basically it's probably based on past experience or anticipated policy. Net, what it's saying is, if you use the percentage of sales, which is an income statement account, what it will give you is your bad debt expense, straightforward, which is also an income statement account. Sales or revenue, expense, BDE, may match yung principal. On the other hand, you have percentage of receivables. Since ito, ang focus niya is balance sheet, what it will give you is also a balance sheet item in the form of allowance for doubtful accounts. So basically, you'll be able to understand this better with illustrations. Pero net, what I want you to understand is, percentage of sales, it will give you BDE. Percentage of receivables, it will give you ADA. So magkaiba yung mabibigay niyang accounts. For you to remember, sales are in the income statement. So what it will give out is something from the income statement, an expense. Receivables are from the balance sheet. So what it will give you is a balance sheet item. So let's do our allowance, right? So ito yung mahirap, quote-unquote, for AR, but it's honestly pretty straightforward. You just have to understand the relationships. So, RRC Pudge Company, sorry, wait lang. Just wait for the screen. So, RRC Pudge Company had the following balances as of December 31. You have AR worth 276,000, right? You have allowance for doubtful accounts at 8,500. And then we have 2 ways. How do we arrive with the bad debt expense, ADA, and net accounts receivable? If you use scenario A, a percentage of sales, and scenario B, a percentage of receivables. So, things lang to take note. If it's an AR question, there are only 3 things na papahanap sa inyo. What is your bad debt expense? What is your ADA? And what is your AR net? Those are the 3 lang na we're gonna be looking for. So you have your BDE, your ADA, and what's your AR net. Now, I want you to understand the relationship between these three items and the table dun sa kanan, right? So, what it's saying is that your AR is 276,000. And as you can see, dun sa table on the right, the total AR is 276. Now, sinisegregate lang niya yung receivables depending on how old they are. So, 0 to 15 days is parang that's how the amount of time that they're outstanding. So, 210,000. 16 to 30 days, 56,000. 31 to 45 days, 7,000. And beyond 45 days. So, ang pinakamatandang AR is the beyond 45 days. Ang pinakabata is 0 to 15. Right? So, if you add all of those, you'll have 276. So now, let's go muna in the first step. Percentage of sales. So again, if it's percentage of sales, what it will give you is your bad debt expense. And it's pretty straightforward. So under percentage of sales, all you have to do is look at the net credit sales, which is 1,250,000. It says na it's 5%. Ay 0.5% of sales. So what is the estimation? 0.5%. When I multiply 0.5% by 1.25 million, what will I get? BDE or ADE? BDE of 6,250, right? So 6,250. And therefore, my journal entry would be bad debt expense 6,250, credit allowance for doubtful accounts of 600,250. So, what you need to understand and master is your T accounts for AR. According to the scenario, meron ka ng beginning balance of 8,500. Nagkaroon ka ng journal entry coming in from your estimation for this year, 6,250. So therefore, saan papasok yung 6,250? Dito sa loob. Right? 8,500 at the beginning balance. Meron ka pang credit na ADA of 6,250. So, ang total accounts allowance for doubtful accounts mo is 14,750. And therefore, 6,250 is your bad debts for the year, right? For the year. Dito nyo pinasok sa loob ng AR. 8,500 from last year plus 6,250, you will have 14,750. That is your total ADA. How do you arrive with your net AR? You look at your 276,000, you subtract your ending balance of your ADA at 14,750, and that will give you your net AR of 261,250. So, ano yung steps? Sa percentage of sales, ang una mong makukuha out of the three is your BDE. So all you have to do is multiply the percentage to your net credit sales. Take note, it says net credit sales. So meron yung sales minus sales return and allowance, sales discount. Ito is yung binawasan mo na siya ng discount and everything. Pero basically, that's what it means to net credit sales. So you multiply that. Step 1, you get your BDE. So okay na tayo. BDE. Next step, you create your journal and T account for your ADA and then reflect the balance. 8,500, dadagdagan nyo ng 6,250, magiging 14,750. You will arrive with your ADA. Finally, since alam nyo na yung final balance of your ADA, you will then create your AR net, which is just basically subtract your ADA from your gross AR so that you will arrive with your net AR. Clear? Any questions? Yes. So, sorry, hindi ko lang mabalik. Pero nakalagay siya na may beginning balance. And then, another thing, merong mga scenarios na lilituhin kayo. So, it will say, ano yung beginning balance ng ADA before your estimation? Right now, the normal assumption is, obviously, kailangan ano siya, credit because that's the normal account. Pero, huwag kayong matakot if it says in the example, ang beginning balance is a debit of 10,000. And then you'll find it weird because you'll say, kala ko ba ang normal balance is a credit? Don't panic. All you have to do is follow the same steps, right? Kung ang beginning balance is 10,000, we will still put the credit ADA on the credit side. Ano lang yung maiiba? Right? Ay, sorry. Maybe this should be like 4,000. Right? So 4,000, 6,250. Ano yung magiging balance nito if it's 4,000 beginning? 4,000 debit, 6,250 na credit. Ultimately, it will result to what? 1,250 na credit. And then, isusubtract nyo yung 2,250 from 276. So, what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter where the beginning balance of ADA is. All you have to do is plug in nyo yung credit inside the T account, and then you'll arrive with your ending balance. Any questions on percentage of sales? So, again, percentage of sales will give you your bad debt expense. Next concept, percentage of receivables. For this, para lang madali niyong matandaan, I don't know if may scenario kayo na nag-utang na kayo to your friends or whatever. Pero, let's say, you have friend A and friend B. May pinautang ako sa friend A, January of this year. Versus, nagpautang ako ng friend ko kahapon, like 20 pesos each. Today, sino yung mas likely na magbayad? Si friend A na pinautang ko ng January or si friend B na pinautang ko kahapon? Kasi hindi pa rin sila nagbabayad until now. Sino yung mas madaling makolekt? Friend B. So, therefore, the older the outstanding AR, the more na wala kang tiwala magbabayad sila. Right? And therefore, the concept is similar. The older the AR is, the higher the percentage na you're not able to collect. So, in this scenario, you will see a percentage. So, ito yung balance. The pinakabata is 210, pinakamatanda is 3,000. As you can see, in the third column, you have percentages. 2, 5, 50, 80%. Ang tawag dyan is the percentage of uncollectability. So meaning, out of the 210 balance, 2%. So onti pa lang yung ine-expect mong hindi mo mako-collect. Versus, dun sa 45 days, ine-expect mo 80% of the 3,000 hindi mo na mako-collect. So ang mapapansin nyo is pataas yung percentage of uncollectability. There are some scenarios na it will give you the opposite. You have 210, 56, 7,000, and 3,000. What I'm expecting is tumataas to. This is your percentage of uncollectability. In some books, what it will give you is percentage of collectability. Meaning, sasabihin nila, out of the 210, you expect 98% yung makakollect, and then ito, 20%. Pababa siya. So, the older it gets, dapat tumataas yung percentage of uncollectability nyo, pero the inverse will happen. Bumababa siya. What we're looking for is your percentage of uncollectability. So, if binigyan kayo ka ng percentage of collectability, all you have to do is subtract it from 100% to get the 2%. Make sense? So, ang tinitingnan natin is percentage of uncollectability, hindi collectability, right? So with that said, all you have to do is, using this table, multiply the percent to the following. So 2% times 210, 4,200. 50% of 7,000 is 3,500, and then 80%, 3,000, 2,400. Now, if you add all of those, it will give you already your ending ADA. So again, percentage of receivables, it will give you your ADA. So looking at the T account for ADA, meron kang 8,500 here, and then it says 12,900. Saan niyo ilalagay yung 12,900? Dito sa taas or dito sa baba? Sa baba. Kasi it will give you your ending ADA. So, meaning, ang difference ng percentage of sales is yung BDE na entry, dito pumapasok sa loob. Pero sa AR, it will already give you your ending ADA straightforward. So, yung ending ADA natin is 12,900. Now, paano naging 12,900 yung 8,500? Paano naging 12,900 yung 8,500? What's the missing? BDE, which is how much? 12,900 minus 8,500 is 4,400. And therefore, alam nyo na yung journal entry nyo would be BDE, ADA, 4,400. So, after nyo na-solve yung ADA, yung second na mahanap nyo is yung net AR nyo, which is just basically 276,000 minus 12,900 is 263,100. And then ang pinakahuli nyo makikita is your BDE of 4,400. So, that's the difference. For me, the only thing na I remember or the only thing na you need to master is how to manipulate the T account for ADA. So again, ulitin natin. Sa percentage of sales, what will happen is you will multiply the estimate on sales. And then what it will give you is this thing sa loob. So that would be 1,500, let's say. And therefore, ang una nyo ma-solve is, what is the BDE ADA journal entry, which is 1,500, right? Kaya siya credit, ADA, 1,500. From there, dun nyo pala makukuha yung ending ADA, which is 8,500 plus 1,500 is 10,000. Versus, sa percentage of AR, it will give you already straight yung 10,000. Let's say this is like 9,000. This is the ending ADA. All you have to do is figure out ano yung missing sa loob, which is 500. And then doon nyo palang makukuha yung BDE ADA. And that's basically the difference between the two. So those are the difference lang between the two methods. But generally, it will give you the three figures that you're looking for: BDE, ADA, and AR net. Yun lang naman talagang hinahanap sa accounts receivable. The last step is disposing of your accounts receivable. In an ideal world, your AR will turn to cash. But sometimes, sobrang tagal mag-collect. And let's say, you're at the brink of bankruptcy. Mababa na yung liquidity ng company nyo. So collecting AR, sobrang hassle yun. Maghabol ka ng mga tao. So for example, for an oil rig company, their average AR collecting is 110 days. Meaning, after nilang magbenta, it takes around 110 days for them to turn it into cash. Imagine nyo kung wala na kayong pera pang bayad ng utilities expense. You cannot wait 110 days, right? So there are two ways na you can, quote-unquote, sell your AR, right? Either you can discount it or you can factor it. So ang difference is, who collects the AR. Under discounting, si company pa rin yung magko-collect. Pero under factoring, another person or the factor is the one that will collect the money. So, factoring. Who collects the AR? The factor. So, what does this mean? The difference is, binibenta mo yung AR. So, this is company, this is the company, and this is the factor. Under factoring, ang ginagawa mo is, ibibenta ko na yung AR sa'yo, the factor. In turn, ikaw na yung mag-collect. Ikaw na bahalang kumulit dun sa mga kailangan kong bayaran. Ikaw na yung magko-collect. So, bakit papayag si factor? It's because, sasabihin niya, okay, sige ako na yung magko-collect, pero bayaran mo ko. I'll charge you an expense. And therefore, it's gonna result into a compound journal entry. Na, okay, technically, instead of receiving the money from the customer, I receive the receivable instead from the factor. So, I will receive some form of cash. Pero let's say, this is 10,000. The factor won't give you 10,000 in cash. He'll buy it at 8,000. Tapos sabihin niya sa'yo, since ako yung magko-collect, treat it as an expense na lang on your end. Yun yung bayad mo sa akin. So that's how you get rid of an AR na from a customer na ayaw magbayad, by selling it to a factor, and then they'll just charge you with an expense. So another example would be something like this, right? Our Sipaj company factors the amount to 500,000 to Bullish Bank. The bank charges a 2% fee. So basically, how we would do it is, again, step 1, pag compound journal entry, technically, the idea is you're getting rid of your AR. So the first step is credit your AR. Next is you get the service charge expense, which is just basically 2% of 500,000, which will be 10,000. So 10,000 to as a debit, you will treat it as an expense, and then you just have to make it balance. So therefore, it would be debit 490,000. So that is basically the only journal entry you have to know about factoring, right? Ano difference ng factor and discounting? The difference is, sa discounting, ikaw pa rin yung magko-collect. So basically, ang nangyayari sa discounting is, uutang ka sa bank, pero sasabihin mo, bababayaran naman kita by collecting my AR. And then, they will say, sige, ikaw muna mag-collect. So, the difference lang between discounting and factoring is, discounting, the company will collect, factoring, the factor will collect. So with that, we're done with AR. Any questions for AR? Yung next would be notes receivables. So notes receivables, again, is just your other form of your trade receivables. So some important concepts lang from notes receivable. Please note na there are two parties to a notes receivable. You have your issuer and your payee. So si issuer is the one that will make the promise to pay, right? So this is how I want you to see it. You have your issuer, and then you have your payee, right? What will happen is the payee will give money to the issuer. In turn, the issuer will give a notes receivable to the payee. So ang point of view natin is we're the payee, right? So basically, the uses are when the individuals or businesses borrow or lend money, and it usually extends the normal credit limits. So for this, the ideal thing to highlight is that ano yung formal instrument that backs up notes receivable? It's called a promissory note. So it's a written promise to pay a specific amount on demand or at a definite time. So, there are two things lang that I need you to understand when it comes to notes receivable. How do you determine the maturity date and how do you compute the interest? So, initial recognition muna tayo and then we'll follow, right? So first, let's determine the maturity date. You will see in the phrases things like on demand. That means it's due now or upon the demand of the payee. Or it will tell you at the end of a stated period. So either a 60-day note or a two-month note or in a stated date, like a specific date. What I want you to know is that there are differences in terms of counting. So first is, let's say, it says a 60-day note, right? So, first is, you'll think, pareho lang naman yun in terms of like 60-day and a 2-month note. But that's wrong. It's different. When you count in days, you exclude the issue date, but you include the due date. So how do you solve for it? 60 days, and then September 17 right now, so September 30 minus 17 is 13 days. And then October has 31 days, so roughly by the end of October, you have 44 days. By November, you will have 16 days remaining. So now, it's November 16. Versus, a 2-month note that is issued on September 17, bibilangin mo lang. October, November, November 17. So there is a difference in terms of counting the dates. The next is, how do we compute interest? Please never forget that not only in accounting, but the world in general, whenever they give you an interest rate, the assumption is that's the rate for the year. Right? So, 5% interest means you will get the 5% for the year. And therefore, magkakaproblema tayo if binigyan ka na hindi buong year. Whether it would be in days or in months. So all you have to do is multiply the face value amount times the time factor. So i-divide mo lang yung interest rate by either 365 or in 12 months. So later, you'll be able to appreciate this better. So actually, ang mahirap lang sa sa notes receivable is how do you compute for your interest, right? So let's try. 80,000, 6%, 90 days. How would you solve for that? Face value of 80,000 times 6%, pero dahil it's in days, we will use either 365 or 360. So 90 divided by 360 is times 6% times 80,000 is 1,183. So all I want you to know, or all I want you to absorb, is wag kayong matakot to compute for interest. Huwag kayong matakot to compute for interest. All we're doing is, let's say, you have 360,000. Ay, di, worry. Kuwari, you have 3,600. It will tell you na may 10% interest. What it's saying is that ang tubo ng 3,600 mo is 360 for 360 days. Now, if I tell you, magkano lang out of the 360 if you were to run it at 90 days? Right? So, kware, technically, if kumuha ka ng 10%, you're supposed to get 360 for the year. Pero paano kung 90 days lang? All you have to do is get your daily interest rate, which is basically 360 divided by 360. Why 360? It's because it's easier to divide by 360 than 365. So technically, may 1 peso ka na na-earn per day. So i-multiply mo lang siya by 90 to get 90 days. Kaya, ang factor for days is N360 or N365. So ipa-plug in nyo lang yung number of days here. Pag months, then divide it by 12. Right? Okay, good question. Ang assumption natin is that it's 360 rather than 365. So, you can ask me in the exam kung ano yung i-divide natin. But 360 usually para mas madaling i-divide. Yeah. So, basically, in number 2, it's just 10% times 9 over 12 times 500,000. And then here, since 1 year, it's 8% times 800,000. So basically, that's how we compute for interest. So now, let's just go through the journal entries, right? So basically, the initial recognition, very straightforward lang. You just issue for NR. The subsequent measurement is what we need to focus on. So notes receivable is also recorded at net realizable value. So similar lang to AR. And it's also tested for impairment. At any impairment note is recognized in the allowance for doubtful accounts. So now, let's look at the disposal. So in terms of disposal, all we have to do is to accrue interest earned but not yet received at the end of the period. So kindly note na ang nagpapakahirap sa notes receivable is this concept, which is the time period. Nag-issue ka ng notes receivable. It says that merong kang maturity date at point X. Ang problem is, let's put, September 17, 2024. Ang due date niya is April 10, 2025. Ang nagpapahirap dito is that in between September 17, 2024 and April 10, 2025, it's okay, sorry, is meron kang end of the period na December 31. So, as the accounting rules state, you have to accrue interest. So, meaning, meron kang entry here, may entry ka here, and may entry ka here. So, therefore, Journal Entry 2 refers to what happens to December 31. Meron kang kailangan i-compute na interest revenue that you will account for as interest receivable. And then, kapag nagbayad ka or na-receive ka ng cash, magkakaroon ka ng receivable at notes receivable. Sobrang quick example. Nag-issue ka ng notes receivable of 100,000. Right? So what will happen? Meron kang NR of 100,000. Meron kang sales revenue, let's say, of 100,000. Gawin na lang natin tong September 1 para mas madali. And then April 1. Right? Let's say may 10% ka na interest. So 10% of 100,000, ang total interest mo for the year is what? 10,000. But ang kailangan mong i-recognize here is not 10,000 but the interest that you gain from September to December, which is September, October, November, December. So 4 months out of 12. Sorry, gawin na lang natin tong 12 para, so 12%. So 4 divided by 12 times 12 is equal to, meron kang i-recognize na 4,000 interest receivable, interest income of 4,000. Pag nasa end ka na ng period, what will happen is you will then also recognize magkano yung interest income na kinita mo here. So now you'll count again. January, February, March. Hanggang March lang kasi April 1 to. So it's 3 months worth of interest income. So at the end of the period, what you will receive from this notes receivable is 107 in cash, which is broken down by your notes receivable of 100, your interest receivable from this period of 4, and then meron kang interest income, which represents the 3 months of 3. So 107 yung cash that you will receive. So basically, ganyan lang yung journal entries for notes receivable. So again, there is another example na we can check. Right? So RRC Pudge Company received a 6-month note amounting to 6,000 with 10% interest on August 31. So, ano yung mga pamatay? Honestly, it's just counting dates. Mayroong difference ang August 1 sa August 31, right? So, August 1 to December 31 is August, September, October, November, December. 5. Pero pag August 31, ang count nyo is September, October, November, December, 4. So, look at the dates, right? So, ano yung journal entry here? It would be notes receivable, credit AR of 6,000, kasi as a commitment to pay. So, yung AR, ginawa niyang NR. So, that's basically debit NR, credit AR of 6,000. Next, nag-issue ka ng 200 na interest receivable and interest revenue, which is basically how we solved for kanina. And then finally, when you honor it, it's a mix of three things. You'll get 6,300 in terms of cash, credit of notes receivable of 6,000, and interest receivable of 200, and interest revenue of 100. So, let's compute paano nakuha yung ganon, right? So, and then last na lang pala, sorry, before we go back to that entry, is the idea of dishonor. So, meaning, same with AR, meron two scenarios in terms of paano kung hindi ka binayaran ng notes receivable. The two scenarios are either gagawin mo lang accounts receivable, lahat ng interest receivable that you'll need. So, instead of cash, you'll recognize AR. Or, kung hindi na talaga siya, wala ka ng hope for collection, ang gagawin mo is that you will credit accounts, allowance for doubtful accounts and then treat it as the other expense. So, let's look at this example muna, right? So, ito yung pag-expected collection, right? So, how did we arrive with that? We will redo the journal entries for this, right? Sorry. So for notes receivable, what I need you to understand is, okay, what I need you to understand is to always look at it from a timeline perspective. August is when we got the receivable. So yung journal entry mo here is notes receivable, 6,000, AR of 6,000. So basically, the idea is, yung AR mo, ginawa mong notes receivable. The next journal entry you'll make is at the end of the period, December 2021. You will recognize a portion of interest here. Kaya nagkaroon ka ng interest receivable, interest income of 200. Pero, when you collect by February, meron ka pang other portion of interest here. So therefore, rather than making another journal entry for interest, tingnan mo na lang how much yung cash na ma-receive mo, which is just basically cash of 6,300, notes receivable of 6,000, interest receivable of 200, representing the interest you earned from August to December, and then interest income of 100, your interest from December to February, right? So basically, ganun lang. How do you simplify this journal entry? You start with the credits. Step 1, credit note receivable, 6,000. Step 2, credit IR of 200. Step 3, credit interest income of 100, and then add them to get your debit. Now, ang difference lang is, paano kung na-dishonor pero they hope to collect? All you have to do is change this and turn it into AR. That's basically it. That's the only difference kung nakakollect ka ng cash or na-dishonor pero you expect collections. Ang mag-iiba lang is the debit. Kapag dishonored, meaning hindi niya binayaran, pero may hope ka pa na babayaran niya, it's all gonna turn into accounts receivable. Yung mahirap is, paano kung wala ng hope for collection? You will have something that looks like this. So look at these figures. All you have to do is, step 1, you recognize all of the receivables you're expecting. Ano lang yung mga receivables na you're hoping to get? The 6,000 and the interest receivable of 200. And then tatanungin nyo, sir, ano nangyari dito sa 100 na to? Right? We will no longer accept that as an income. So we don't recognize it. Kasi hindi na nababayaran eh. What I have to do instead is, I need to derecognize my NR of 6,000. And then since naka-recognize na ako ng receivable na 200, I have to derecognize rin the 200. Ano yung mga accompanying journal entry? Ima-match nyo lang. Whatever the NR is, you will create an ADA of 6,000. And then, you will consider this receivable as an others expense of 200. So basically, that's a journal entry for dishonored NR with no hope for collection. So again, this is also the two types. Again, pag discounting, who collects the NR, it's the company. If it's factoring, it's the factor. And then lastly, some concepts lang, is financial statement presentation. So we'll go back to inventory. Again, kindly note, inventory is classified as current asset, and it's a multiple step income statement that we're gonna be using. Please master the following ratios. First is this concept of inventory turnover. Inventory turnover is just cost of goods sold, right, divided by your inventory. Cost of goods sold divided by your average inventory is your inventory turnover. Your inventory turnover tells you how well you turn over your inventory. Gaano mo kabilis nabebenta yung inventory mo. Right? So, to be able to identify that, you divide your cost of goods sold divided by inventory, and then it will give you a fraction. The higher the number, the better the company is at managing their inventory. Mas mabilis nilang nabebenta yung inventory turnover nila. It's kind of hard to understand inventory turnover. So, the more friendly ratio that you'll hear when you're in finance is days to sell. All you have to do is divide 365 by the inventory turnover. So for example, in this scenario, 1,000 cost of goods sold divided by 2,000 average inventory is 0.5. 365 divided by inventory turnover of 0.5 is 730 days. What it says is that, bumili ako ng roughly one batch of inventory. How long will I be able to sell it para mag out of stock? The answer is your days to sell, which is 730, which is pretty long, right? So, your days to sell, ang gusto mo, sobrang baba niya para mabilis ka nagsi-sell out or mabilis ka nagto-turnover ng inventory. Same with AR. AR is classified as current asset, and then we also have AR turnover, which is just basically net credit sales divided by average net accounts receivable. This is to assess your liquidity and your collection period. So, for example, this is the example that we're gonna be doing. To get your AR turnover, it's 1,250,000, which is your net credit sale, and then it says average. So what you do is you average your 263,100, which is basically your net AR. So 276,000 minus 12,900 is this one. And 275,000 minus 8,500 is 265. So i-average nyo siya, which will give you 1,250 divided by 239,800, which will be your AR turnover of 5.21 times. And then your average collection period is just basically 365 divided by 5.21. You'll be able to collect roughly on a 70-day basis. So again, average collection period, the lower the better. AR turnover, the faster, the higher the better. That's basically it. And then I think there's just anything for accounting for credit card sales, but I think that's something that we can just defer to another topic. So I think with that, that's everything that you'll have for your quiz on Tuesday. Some reminders, we'll upload the problem set now. It's due Monday midnight. Given the parang kakatapos lang natin, I will also upload the answers already by Sunday para ma-aral nyo na. So basically, all you have to do is just absorb it. Kasi my main idea is that so that you can prepare for the quiz on Tuesday. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great weekend.